Hello, everyone. Deborah Neal Baker here with another serious business conversation with the intention of exposing, evoking, and evolving our thinking. And today, I'd like to have Stacey Soble is going to join us, and she is the editor of Salon Today. Hi, Stacey.
Hi, Deborah. Thanks
Good
for
to
having
see.
me.
Oh, well, thank you. And Stacey, you've to just give people a little bit of history of Salon Today. Stacey and I were just speaking about it. It's probably been around for 30 years, and
30, 32, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because serious business was started by my late husband Edwin Neal, and he and Howard Hayfitz were the best of friends who started Salon Today, and
Correct.
both of them had this. Hair shows were what everybody produced back then. It was hair shows. It was all about teaching technique, and both of them said, what we really need here in our industry is some business acumen. And I think that was the catalyst for serious business and Salon Today.
Correct. And then, then it was acquired by Modern Salon, who is obviously focuses on the technique of hairdressing. And then they thought the same thing. They thought we
Yeah.
need a business component. And at that point, Howard was ready to sell it, and we acquired it and rounded out the Salon Today, Modern Salon family.
Yeah. So you've been around for
27 of those years.
oh my goodness. Well,
So,
you look great.
well, thank you.
Part of our job though, right?
It helps to be in the beauty business. At
It
least
certainly does.
You get an edge on all the new things. So.
That's right. That's right. So, really, what I'd like to talk about with you today is that you have a very unique position because you really, as a publisher, as an editor, you really have this big, wide view of our industry, and so rather than ruminating on the past, this past year, I'd like to know, what are you seeing and observing right now in our industry?
Well, it's kind of a really exciting time. We're seeing it from both sides. We're seeing manufacturers start to launch new products. We've been talking to a lot of people about launch programs, but we're also seeing clients return to the salons. We just posted a story about 2/3 of clients are ready for a post-pandemic glow up. They're ready to look their best. They've kind of been in hiding and been sheltering, and they're ready to look their best. And then it really depends for the salons across the country where they are, when they opened, kind of what phase of recovery they're in right now. But they're all looking to get back on their feet, get business back on track. A lot of them are having staffing issues. That's a real problem for salons. But at least the clients are coming back. My personal salon told me the other day that they can't meet the needs for the clients' appointments. They're coming in faster, and her chairs are not full with stylists, and she's having a problem servicing all the clients that want appointments.
Yeah.
So
the lack of staff that people are experiencing is that, of course, we have Aveda institutes across the country at this point, and there's the enrollment in schools has been great, even this past year. So there's plenty of graduates coming out of beauty schools, from what I can see. So I guess. It's and then the existing hairdressers. Have you seen that it's because they've decided to take a different path, and they're not coming back to the traditional salon? What is that?
I think it's a combination of things. I think there are people that have not returned to the salon. Either they don't feel safe, or they have childcare issues because their kids are doing school from home. But then a lot of stylists took the pandemic to maybe go try out booth rental. They decided now it's time to pivot and make a change and see what that's like. A lot of people felt that they felt safer in a room like that they controlled. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think when you have an overarching salon that's really taking care of all the sanitation and cleanliness for you, I think that's a better situation. But I think that's part of it. And I think salon owners need to get more sophisticated about how they recruit. I don't think just posting an ad anymore.
Yeah, no. So what do you think that? What do you think that looks like? What advice would you give salon owners that need staff?
I would, number one, reach out to your schools, get involved, offer to teach classes, start to build relationships with the students they're in right now, and give you an opportunity to identify the ones that most best would fit your culture. Invite them in. I know with social distancing that might be hard. We've had salons though that have done like lunch and learns, where they'll have students come in for a lunch, see what it's like to work in that salon, maybe teach them, a special technique or talk about soft skills. But get them in your salon so that they can see your culture and your environment. Get your best technicians out into the school to teach or teach over Zoom. That's really important. We've got salon owners that are actually, once they make those connections with students, they're following them on Instagram. They're encouraging them when they post their work. They give them great feedback. And then they invite them in for a day. If they someone that they like, they say, come in and spend a day with us. So I think you have to meet the students where they are, both in the school and on social media.
Yes, agreed. I mean, that seems like that's, it's so many of the things that we should have always been doing. Now it's become very clear that we can no longer just talk about this. We have to put it into action.
You have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So are people salons that you're communicating with, are you seeing a big difference between the ones that are doing what you just advise people to do and the ones that are just still
Absolutely. But the ones that aren't have empty chairs. Yeah. And the ones that are, and then, it has been an opportunity for some salons. I know Gail Fulbright at Headlines picked up 13 new stylists because 5 salons closed around her. And she had a relationship with those owners, so she could reach out and say, I'd like to give some of your people jobs. Who needs jobs? So, look in your community. Who's closed? Who was a great artist at those salons that maybe you could reach out that are looking for an opportunity?
Yeah. I wonder too, you mentioned that a lot of people, hairdressers, have decided to give the independent booth rental model, a shot to see what that's like. Have you seen some try that and then ultimately decide that they want to be in a team, a salon environment where they're part of a team?
So most of my conversations with owners, but I have talked to owners where that's happened, where they've had team members go out and try it. And I think that's one reason you need to keep those lines of communication open with people that have left. And some salons said that we did a clubhouse recently, and someone said that they reached out to people that have left them and asked them, where are you now? Are you happy there? Would you like to come back? Sometimes they might be hesitant to ask you to come back.
Yes.
But it might be an opportunity to reach out. So, if you can keep those, if you didn't, part in a bad situation, but if you could reach out to some of those people and talk about reoffering them an opportunity, at least it's someone it's a given, who that person is.
No, I agree. Our friend Van Council used to always say that the best hairdressers for his team are the ones who they should all go away and try it. And then, more than half of them would want to come back anyway, so that they get, they have that experience.
But now they don't have that itch to go out and try being independent to see what it's like. They know they didn't like it. Now they respect you more and they understand more what they were missing, and they're excited to come back.
Yeah. And the whole issue of flexibility is now just standard practice, I would think, across our industry about instead of mandating what hours and days and all of that, that there's a lot more flexibility built into the way we're operating salons at this point.
Well, and for all of the negative things that came about with the pandemic, there are obviously some positive things that happened as well. And some of that is it forced people to be more innovative. It forced people to be more flexible. It forced them to do some of the best practices that Serious Business and Salon Today and others have been preaching for a long time. And a lot of people expanded their hours so that because of social distancing, they had to expand their hours to get the clients in. But it created more flexibility for the team. And that's what they want. So some of the things that the pandemic has caused, I think in the long run, it's making people be better business owners.
Yes, yeah. Well, you mentioned best practice, and I always wonder, what are some of the best practices today, and some of the best practices from the past. Are they still relevant? I mean, I can remember, this was a long time ago, but I remember when I first entered the beauty industry, salons were closed on Monday.
Yeah.
And, they had this one late night, and I was like, why?
Well, and all your clients work today. I mean, I understand how they're trying to book. So I know they're always trying to get me in at like a 10 o'clock appointment. I'm like, well, I work Monday through Friday. That's not convenient for me. So when are you convenient for me? And clients are going to look for salons that are convenient for them too. So I agree with you. The times that you offer, a lot of those best practices have changed. I think before they were convenient for the owners and the stylists. Now you've got to be convenient for the clients.
There you go. Yeah. So speaking of, you have the Salon Today 200 that you've been doing for now, I don't know how many years. That's been, an annual.
Yeah.
But
this will be 23.
23.
This
you
year.
know that one exactly, huh?
I do know that one.
Yeah. So this last year, if there was one thread, a theme through those top 200 salons, what are some of the things that you noticed were, a theme that most of the salons were?
Well, we had to actually change too with the pandemic because we used to have the 11 different best practices that you could enter. It was complicated. It was confusing for owners to enter. There was a lot of writing of essays. And we also spent hours and hours and hours reading those essays and judging them. And, we also had to downsize with the pandemic. So I had to look for an easier way for owners to enter. And we really focused last year on what people did to survive the pandemic. So the thread through that was really creativity, but business creativity, and there were just all kinds of things that people did to communicate with their clients, offer, services and hair color kits, but also product kits and all kinds of things, and meeting clients where they're at, and then also providing mental health services for your team. We had owners that did that as well, bringing in a counselor to talk to their stylist about what they were going through and how to cope with it.
Wow, that brings up a really, I think, a subject that not just our industry, but the whole world needs to really pay more attention to. In fact, I just, being in New Orleans in Louisiana, I saw on the news the other day that in New Orleans there's a group of barbers and what they call barbers and beauticians, and they are working collaboratively to really be more aware and give people, hairdressers and barbers, training on how to interact and how to identify, mental health issues. And I think that is something that we all need to. And look, our industry has this unique opportunity, the way but then what do we, So, yes, I think that was something that everyone had to really get their head and hearts around this past
Right.
year. Yeah.
Well, and I think it is a privilege to be able to know your client at that level and have them be able to confide in you. But it's also a burden to have clients talk about their stresses all day, their fears about
Yes.
whatever's going on. So a lot of people who are very empathetic carry that with them all day. So you need to learn techniques to let that go, to focus on yourself, to give yourself a little bit of self-love as much as you are your clients.
Yes.
So.
Well, speaking of, for serious business, of course, we start working on serious business.
The day it stops.
The day it's over, And I'm happy to say that we're going to have David Kessler join us, Serious Business 2022, and he's a grief and loss. I kind of use the word expert. Specialist.
Yeah.
Yes. But you're right. And it starts with our team, right? The client. Yeah. So what else from this wide perspective that you have? What do you? Because you Salon Today, and you really focus on the salon owner. And so what would you advise the salon owner right now, considering there is so much, I think there is opportunity now. And so what would your advice be to them?
I think you really have to look at, number one, what clients really want right now, and then also your services. There are new things that are coming out every day. I think you need to be on top of that. I think you need to look at categories like hair loss and how you can help your clients with that beyond just offering them products. Look at what kind of services are out there. Look at who's on your team that might want to develop a specialty in a service like that. And just really hone in on every opportunity to offer your clients everything you possibly can that want. So,
yeah. Well, there's this opportunity that our industry has kind of been weak at, and that is, textured services, services for textured hair and the textured hair client. So I know that a lot of salons are really embracing that and doing training and offering that. And you bring up hair loss, and we have a couple people in our salon group that specialize in working with women who are dealing with breast cancer and hair loss and wigs and all of that. So being a resource that's beyond, like you said, just cut, color, and product is,
or being able to connect them with organizations
Yes.
that can help them through that process.
being a resource.
Being
Yes.
a resource for that.
Yes, indeed. So what kind of resources are you offering right now? What are you talking about when, I'm sure you spend a lot of time, you're interviewing people and you're being interviewed. And there's, what I've noticed, I guess this last year, because we've been so dependent on technology, that all of these, whether it was Zoom, Facebook, Instagram Live, and now Clubhouse, I'm seeing all of these different resources in areas of our industry that I really wasn't even aware of. It's again, it seems like a lot of people are taking on these consulting roles, like being a consultant. Right. And I saw that for a while, but there's like this big renaissance of being a consultant.
Well, I just think there's so many different ways to communicate now, and the Clubhouse is just this phenomenon that I don't know if it had been so popular if we weren't still not going to live events and not seeing each other. I think there's just a real need to connect right now with like-minded folk and people in your industry and people that have the same likes and hobbies as you do, and that's become a big phenomenon. But Yeah, everybody is out there with a podcast now or a clubhouse room or, I got my degree in magazine journalism, and that's maybe an eighth of what I do now. So it's social media, it's webinars, it's clubhouse, it's website, newsletter, email newsletters. So we've all had to be really flexible.
Right. So
Adapt.
so I think that that's some of the overwhelm that a salon owner and even a hairdresser, even an independent, everyone is like dealing with this. How do you navigate all of this? And how much do you participate in each one of these?
I don't know that you need to participate in each one of these. I mean, we do because we're media, but
Right.
I think a salon owner needs to gravitate to the thing that they feel most comfortable with a core of people that they feel comfortable with getting advice from. And I don't think that you need to be on all of them. It's overwhelming to be in all of them. And then, we are looking at hosting events in the fall. So we're going to do data driven. So hopefully we'll be at a place with the pandemic that people will have enough vaccinations that they'll feel comfortable coming. And I know that there's a real need to get together again and be present with one another.
Yeah. Well, we're questioning is that if now the hybrid, what we're calling the hybrid model, where it's
Well, we're looking at hybrid too.
hybrid, right? Yeah. I think that that's probably, at least this next year, that's what we're all going to have to probably, offer. That would be the offering. Because are we going to go back to, is it immediately going to, are 1,500, 2,000 people all going to show up like they used to? Not this coming year, probably, but,
No.
we have to work our way back to that. Yeah, so, well, since you do so many interviews and you ask so many questions, so I would like to know what should I ask you? If you were me, what would you ask yourself that would really...
Now I'm going to have to answer it, but one of my favorite interview questions is, if you looked at a scrapbook of your life, what page would be your favorite and what page would you rip out? That's the question I do when I do a personal interview. That's the kind of question I ask.
So now you have to answer it.
Now I have to answer that.
You have to answer that.
I would probably rip out the pages around puberty. That was just a horrible time in my life. I went from a girl who had rainbows and unicorns in her room to basically tearing everything down. And if my mom would have let me paint my walls black, I would have. I just had that deep, dark year or two that I don't know who I was, but I wasn't me. So those were the years I'd probably rip out. I think that page for me is still to come, the one that would be my favorite. I'm transitioning to a new period of my life. My children are out of the nest. Professionally, I'm really excited about where I am right now. And we're just looking towards the future and what that will be. So,
yeah. Well, since you've asked that question and you answered it, it's funny. There's very little, like I had the same kind of experience in puberty. I was really that very sullen, unhappy teenage girl.
yeah.
But when I look back, I wouldn't rip that out, because getting through that, working my way through that difficult time, just like this last year, working through these difficult times and, with adversity and loss, they really refine who we are. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if I'd rip anything out. And I've had such an incredible, journey. And a lot of it, I really give credit to the choice that I made to be in this industry. It's just such a special industry. And I think you're like me. We're neither one hairdressers, but we have this deep love and appreciation for this industry.
Right.
And, we always talk about business. Business may be the entity that has the most opportunity to have a positive impact on people's lives, because people all interact with business in the workplace. And then you top it with an industry that gets to physically touch other people. I mean, it's limitless.
It's
The power
an
that we have.
incredible. Yeah, I agree with you. It's an incredible industry, and I worked in healthcare. I supported healthcare and agriculture for a while, so I'm really grateful. I mean, I kind of stumbled into this opportunity, but I knew within a year I'd be a lifer. So,
Yeah.
and I can't do hair either, but I bring what I think I have, and that's the ability to connect one another and to harvest the best ideas that people have and share them in a broader audience. That's what I do with it. So,
Well, and thank you. I think that we could,
Thank you.
I always call myself a beauty industry evangelist, and I think that you could probably share that title with me.
so okay, I'd be honored to share that title.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much, Stacey. And, I just want to, acknowledge the relationship that Salon Today has had with Serious Business over these, I don't know how many years that's been. 12,
long time.
15
Yeah.
years.
Yes.
And how much we value that relationship. And, it's relationship is the key to the universe.
It is, and we
Yeah.
value it too. And
Yeah.
I think we have very similar missions. So,
Yes, we do.
and it's to help people by building their businesses better. So,
Well, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you.
you take care.
You too.
Thanks, Stacey.